That's bullshit. So, like, also, I will cuss. I will get to that in a second. MAGFest is the only kind I do panels at where it's like, whatever, just, there's like no limits. So, yeah, it's bullshit. So, Osh's Wrath, the way they made the game, it's really episodic. It's basically like you're playing an anime. If you're familiar with Gurren Lagann, it's like that level of over-the-top shit. Gameplay is super goddamn redundant. Like, the first 90 minutes, that's the whole game. You were doing the same gameplay the whole time, but like, it's really over the top, it's really fun, you're just like watching an LP. What they do is, for like the last 3 chapters, there's like 24 chapters, which is like typically the length of an anime. They locked it behind a paywall, and I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? Why would you lock actual important story, like main story content behind a paywall? So, if you wanted like a whatever game to play where it's just like I'm just here for over top crap, I would recommend it, but they do lock it behind the paywall, and that's just bullshit. But anyway, so welcome to my panel. Thanks for showing up on Sunday. I know I didn't want to. Sit down, STFU, play JRPG, Deluxe Edition. I'm your host, DJ Dante Masamune. Sunday, our alternate title, Don't Talk About Tales of Arise the whole time, because I have a lot of feelings about that, but whatever. We're gonna keep going. So, this is another version of like another panel I did literally years ago at this point. I hate thinking about it because it's so long. So originally I did a panel called Obscure JRPGs You Should Play. It's really, people got really fucking annoying over obscure. I think my favorite is when somebody tried to argue with me that Lunar Eternal Blue is not obscure. And it's like, but that implies that everybody knows that. That's not the case. Who here even knows about Lunar Eternal Blue? Oh, we got a few people.
Where the one on Sega CD is. Are you talking about a different one?
It really doesn't matter because either or. Yeah, like it's just the point. It's like somebody try to argue like, well, that's not obscure, and then people get stupid about that. So I stopped doing that version. It turned into this format. The original version was like way more. Is still no. So I had like 80 games I think in that one. I had to no. Pacing wise, no. So I cut that down, and you have this version, which is way shorter. I've been doing panels for years. Like Obscure JRPGs, the last time I did that was 2014. I've been doing panels for like, I've been doing panels since 2012, so I've been at this shit for a while. So Obscure JRPGs is kind of hilarious to me, because like, oh yeah, I did that literally years ago. Awesome, awesome. So anyway, basic backstory. I have a couple business cards. You can take pictures of that. I'll fish them out of my bag eventually as I keep doing this panel. If you want to, I do not mind participation. Just raise your hand. And just like wave it, because I might completely miss you. Feel free to suggest games afterwards. Some of the listings is going to primarily just be pictures, just to save on time. There will be some degree of spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the entire game, but some level. Like I said, we'll be cussing a little bit, so if you have like a thing with cussing, because some people do, like that is the thing I'm going to do, I will be cussing. I'm not going to say like the F-bomb every 5 seconds, but just so all cards on the table. Appreciate all feedback. I don't care if you send it to me. I have a bunch of different social media links. If you Google DJ Dante Masamune, you will find something that belongs to me. I check all my messages. I saw a hand over here.
Yeah, is it being recorded or you can post it?
If that's being recorded, it's by MAGFest. I'm not recording it. Yeah, so I do post all my panel stuff online. I'll have a PDF of this and like any other resources that need to be mentioned on my panel blog, so I will have that. I have a Dropbox now. I upgraded like a few years ago and just started dropping stuff in the Dropbox to make it easier, so whatever makes it easier for people. So anyway, just get this basic list started. I'm gonna do the usual suspects, i.e. if I don't say it, somebody's gonna piss them off that this is the worst panel ever, because holy shit, list style panels are hilarious. People look for the one listing thing. If they don't see like, oh, this entire panel is terrible, whatever. I'm not salty, you're salty. So anyway, just a few. We got Persona 3, 4, 5, you play it, it's fun. If you like JRPGs, if you like long commitments, it's fun. I don't have pictures because I was like, F it, it doesn't matter for this portion. Fire Emblem series, I personally started with the Tellius games. Tellius games are the GameCube. So Fire Emblem, like Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, those were my first. I love them to death. I will always be a Fire, like that, the Tellius games stand. Fire Emblem Three Houses, to me, it's like if Persona and Fire Emblem had a baby, that's what you get. That's not including Mirage Sessions, but that's another story.
Are you saying this just because of the art style, like because it's been nicknamed Persona Emblem?
For Three Houses?
Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects to it that are it's a lot, especially with P5 coming out. No, it wasn't recent. It was really reminiscent to me of like Persona series in general. Because like if you look at the overall Fire Emblem series, like yeah, you got like effectively social links, but like the support system, all that stuff. But a lot of it to me reminded me of like Persona. So more like certain gameplay elements, not like art style or anything like that. If you ask me, Three Houses was one of the weaker Fire Emblem games recently. It's not terrible. It's still fun, but like I'm gonna tell you slut, so that's me. Mother Earthbound, don't mind the hot take. All the people that annoy the crap out of me are always Earthbound fans. Usually if you like the game, that's great. If you haven't played it, it's a good game. It's an old, like this is one of the few 16-bit era games that like I'll talk about just because that's how it is. It's a good game, you can find it. We never got the third game. You can find like fan translate versions, all that jazz, but we never actually got in the States. The game is not bad at all. It's just the fandom can be very annoying at points because they act like that's the only JRPG that ever existed, and it's like, it's not, but that's cute. Also, a lot of times we hear Mother Earthbound, it's always in the context of, oh, it's really underrated and nobody knows it. And it's like, everybody and their mom knows about this game. If you play JRPGs, you know about this, regardless if you played it or not. But anyway, Danganronpa series, if you like anime style, like hijinks, also for me, for the longest time, my PS Vita was basically a Danganronpa machine because that's really one of the few. It was that in P4 Golden. That was the only thing on Vita for the longest time that I had. So if you like basically crime type things or like trial type gameplay, like if you want like a more anime version of Phoenix Wright, you can play Danganronpa. It is way more over the top. Danganronpa does take its inspiration from, or was inspired by, the Zero Escape series, which is 999, via like Virtual Last Reward and Zero Time Dilemma. So it's kind of that style of gameplay. If you don't know about those games, I will talk about that later, even though it's a little bit of a cheat. Final Fantasy in general, especially critically acclaimed Final Fantasy 14, because yay, MMORPGs. Nier Automata, Nier Replicant is a more recent thing. There's a bunch of numbers, whatever. Nier Replicant, so we got Nier Gestalt in America ages ago. Nobody gave a shit about that game. Nobody played it. Nier Automata came out, like it did gangbuster numbers. Everybody knows about that. Really popular. And then like last year we got Nier Replicant. Replicant basically was the original Japanese version for Nier. America, we got Nier Gestalt. Japan, they had Nier Replicant. The main difference is Nier Replicant, your main character is younger, and basically he's trying to help out his younger sister. Nier Gestalt, you're older, so like they call him Papa Nier. He's old, like he's trying to help out his daughter. That's like the main difference. Also, a lot of different interactions between multiple characters with the main character. Like building up a kinase relationship with your main character, Nier. You can name him whatever you want, but his default name is Nier. Those are cut out in the original like English version when Nier Gestalt came here. Nier Replicant, you get all the same things that, plus more content that they added for like last year. So it's more recent, basically an updated version of Nier Replicant. Came out forever ago. Dragon Guard Nier to like a lesser degree. How many people here have played any Dragon Guard game? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nier? No, that's what I thought. Okay. Nier is based off the joke ending in the first Dragon Guard game. It's depressing as crap. Dragon Guard Nier is a game series that's basically super depressing. If you love depressing games, depressing plots, I recommend it. For the longest time, that was like the only Dragon Rider style game for a Sony system because Xbox had Panzer Dragoon Order. I didn't have Xbox. I wanted a Dragon Rider style game. Dragon Guard came out and it's just over top. Anyway. Tales of in general is another thing you play. Final Fantasy you go to for like the plot. Tales of you go for like interesting fight system, like combat systems, and like more quirky characters. The latest game is Tales of Arise. There's a bunch of other Tales of games. You can look that up. You can talk to me afterwards and go in detail, but it's a lot. Older games, Skies of Arcadia. Usually more older JRPG people love Skies of Arcadia. It's a great game. It will cost you a pretty penny to get it if you want to have a physical copy, but it's great. Came out on GameCube, and then before that, Dreamcast. Awesome game, really recommend it. You're basically Sky Pirates, it's awesome. Play it if you can. Who here has played Skies of Arcadia? Awesome one. Okay, this is gonna be a fun panel because I get to just talk. Anyway, main list. So for the most part, the general flow of the panel is I'm gonna introduce a game, show like a slide for the game thing, show another slide for like the images, maybe show a video if I have one, go over the pros, cons, WTFs of the game, and then rinse and repeat for the next game. Feel free to ask questions. If you have comments, I'm also open to comments. Just like I said, just raise your hand. So anyway, first game series is Valkyria Chronicles. Tactical RPG, originally came out on PS3. Valkyria Chronicles 2 came out on PSP. We never got Valkyria Chronicles 3 in the US, but we did get Valkyria Chronicles 4. I don't know who sucked whose dick, but we got Valkyria Chronicles 4. There's also another game that's like by the same people or like similar style called Valkyria Revolution. I won't talk about that game with this panel, but that's another thing that exists that came out between 2 and I think it was after 3 is when Valkyria Revolution came out. It's on PS3 as well. Who here has played any Valkyria Chronicles game? Awesome. Who's played VC3? Anybody made the effort? Because there's like dubious methods you can go through to like playing VC3. I don't do it. If nothing else, PSP is like region free. So if you bought the game, which it doesn't cost that much for VC3. I think last time I checked, it's like $10. So if you do want to play that game, you can buy it, play on your PSP if you still have your PSP, and you have fun that way. Anyway, tactical RPG. I had a lot of fun with this, basically military style. The whole premise of the game is effectively fantasy version of World War II. Instead of having like Jews being oppressed, you have the dark sense, but it's basically the same thing. And that's for game 1. Game 2 is like, I don't know what like historical event it lines up with, but it's more like basically infighting because Valkyria Chronicles 1, that was like the end of like World War II effectively. Valkyria Chronicles 3 is effectively the Valkyrie plot to assassinate Hitler. It's like that, but like I said, like fantasy RPG form. Valkyria Chronicles 4, again, I forget the exact historical event it lines up with, but most of the games line up with some actual historical event that happens during World War II. They just add their anime bullshit on top of it. So I will show a video for this since I have it. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. It's a really gorgeous game. One of the best times to see like how pretty the game can be, at least for the first game, it's whenever you use a smoke bomb. When you ever use like a smoke bomb and you go into it, the art style completely shifts. It's really gorgeous. I love it. Like I said, I'm going to talk through videos. So with all the Valkyria Chronicles games, they also have really detailed art books that range about $30-something, $40-something. You can get all the art books, including like in the US and English. Even the art book for Valkyria Chronicles 3, even though we never got the game, we got the art book, but just putting that out there. Like I said, it's a tactical RPG. I'll show a tad bit of gameplay just to give you something. But I really enjoyed the game. You have different classes that are scout, which can scout, sniper, Lancer, Shock Trooper, I'm probably forgetting one. Valkyria Chronicles, what? Wasn't that VC2 though? No. What? So Engineer for the first one. VC2 adds multiple other classes, and a lot of them are broken as crap. I personally love VC2. A lot of people didn't really like it because it was more childish compared to the more or less serious tone of the previous game, but I love VC2. It's one of my favorite. The problem with VC2 is because it's on PSP, you get that huge step down with graphical capabilities because you're going from a console game to a handheld. VC2 did not do well in the US because it's on the fucking PSP. What do you think? We literally didn't get PS3 or VC3 because it's VC2 didn't do well. Yeah, because you put it on PSP. Didn't really do well. Even near the end of his lifespan, it started to catch up, but it really didn't do well. So we never got VC3 because of that, and somehow we got VC4. And VC4 came out a few years ago. I forgot how many years ago it came out. VC4 also has DLC for different characters, basically Squad 7, because there's Squad 7 for this game. Interactions that you can do in VC4 that explains certain plot elements. where's the plot? Like I said, I'm gonna show a little bit of gameplay for like the wrong game. Awesome. Because I'm gonna go into how some of the negatives. So a little bit of gameplay. So this is a good example. So you have a tank. I love it because you get a tank. You can customize the tank like with like different armaments and different things like that. Different like armor types, anything to like raise, lower defense with your tank, increase maneuverability, all that. You have your characters. While they're moving around, like you can go into your target mode, and you have different weapon types that you can use depending on what type of like class they are. The main thing that sucks with the first, like for Cure Chronicles, is while you're targeting, the enemy is still shooting at you, so it's very possible to die mid-target, which is always excellent if you're nowhere, like nobody else is near that character. The other thing with Valkyrie Chronicles in general is wherever your character gets downed, as long as either you use a medic command or you get somebody else test that character, you can like basically bring them back. After a while, if you have somebody like touch that character, they'll be available to use again after like so many turns. If you use a medic, like usually like the next like turn, they'll be available, I believe. If you use the character, like if the enemy touches your character after they've been down, that's a permadeath, and they're just gone. You can go through the entire roster in at least the first game, but pretty much like any of the games, if you just keep getting your characters killed. And once they're killed, that's it. Like they're not in the plot anymore. Like they're just gone. Etc. Etc. So different characters have different types of skills and like different like advantages and disadvantages. First game, like you had some characters that were racist, and as you use that character more and like increase your bond, or like basically increase your main character's bond with that person, like you could kind of like reduce some of their negative traits and replace them with positive traits. But like in VC4, like if a character's racist, for example, because they're a dark skin hater, a lot of times they don't get over that. They just stay racist. I'm like, that's awesome. That's a great message. Just keep them racist. Anyway, that's that. Awesome. Great. Because it's a fun game. You can still find it. It's not going to cost that much. Some of these games have an issue with like it might be hard to find or really pricey, but Valkyrie Chronicles is still readily available. Like all like 4 games, like I said, even VC3, if you wanted to get that, you could buy on eBay for like less than $15. All of it's readily available. Like I said, it's really like basically fantasy version of World War II. The fight system, like I love tactical RPGs personally. A lot of the characters are interesting. Some characters are more developed than others. All the characters, if you use them like a lot throughout the game, like you'll get little snippets and like build on more of their backstory. Some characters are developed a little bit more than others, but like you can use whatever type of characters you want. First game is really bad with like, you do to get a sniper class, headshots are a thing, so you have a powerful enough weapon, you can't literally one-shot an enemy. Problem is with the early game for Valkyrie Chronicles, snipers can't hit for shit. Of course, the enemy snipers can snipe you 50 miles away, but like your snipers miss all the time. Like mid-game, after you get like a particular sniper rifle that the queen like bestows upon you, because you get like rewards and stuff from like the queen, like you start doing a lot better with your snipers, but like for the longest time, like they're kind of sort of useless. Some do better than others, but it is the thing. VC2, by the time you get snipers, because of the way they do the classes, you have to like level up, you have to get like credentials before you change classes. By the time you get a sniper person, they're pretty much OP from the get-go. You got 2 different types of snipers, like because there's like a little branching tree for effectively your classes. By the time you get to like the lowest, like the most like elite level of a sniper, you can do either anti-personnel or anti like tank effectively. Anti-personnel, pretty much you basically have 3 shots around for your sniper, so basically it's a guarantee you're going to kill your enemy, whoever you're going against, as long as you don't miss, or they dodge. You can do an anti-tank sniper for like the anti-tank side of like the branch for your classes. And at that point, you can take out a tank with like 2 hits. If you hit the radiator, which is the weak point on any tank, you can take out the tank in 1 hit. You also have more like broken classes in VC2, like you get an armored tech class, which is literally you have a shield, a massive shield, and a massive hammer. Pretty much nothing can really take you out unless it's a headshot. If you're kneeling, you're crouching, which reduces damage. You're basically, you reduce a lot of damage. By the time you get to the final level, of your classes for your armored tech. You can pretty much one-hit a tank with a massive ass hammer. If you're going the anti-personnel rank route, you have this big, you basically have a guts sword, and you can take out any personnel. Like you're unstoppable. VC3, I haven't gone into more. VC3, you do actually get a Valkyria. A Valkyria is like a big deal for Valkyria Chronicles universe. Valkyria is basically like the aspect of the like Aryan race. They're basically a literal embodiment of that. They're super powerful females. They have all these like broken stats. They can like shoot things with their like blue energy. They're just really powerful. You see what I'm talking about. If you played, you know what I'm talking about if you played the game. If you play the game, it's really obvious. The Valkyria is always the one on the cover. So Valkyria Chronicles, like she's a Valkyria. The hair always glows blue whenever they're about to use their power, and their eyes are usually red, not always. Valkyria Chronicles 3 is the first game you actually get a Valkyria, they stay a Valkyria, and then you use their broken abilities. 1 and 2, you get them, but they don't really do anything. They don't use their Valkyria powers, so you can't use their broken side. Valkyria Chronicles 3, you do get that. VC4, they're back to like they don't do that. You don't get any Valkyrias, at least with the initial main story. Like you don't get anything. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, that's Valkyria Chronicles. Like I said, Tales of Arise, I would talk about, I'm talking about now. How many people have played Tales of Arise? Oh, a few people, awesome. Did you beat the game or are you still working on it?
Like halfway.
Oh, wait, okay. Oh, you got it. Did you hit that point where like the opening animation changes?
I don't remember. It's been like a couple weeks.
Okay, fair.
But I'm more multiple on these, so.
Got you. So Tales of Arise is the latest game for Tales of. It's really gorgeous. It's on PS4 and PS5. Just showing clips from the game. Really beautiful. You play as Alf, he has a different name, but Alfin. Your lead female is Shion. They do my favorite thing that I see JRPGs do every once in a while, which is your medic is your person with the gun. Now, unlike Xenoblade Chronicles, she doesn't heal you by literally shooting the gun at you, but she has a gun. She's actually super useful. It's one of the Tales of games where your medic can actually, or your healer can actually do stuff when they're not healing. It's not like, oh, I'm not healing, I can't do crap, like Tales of Symphonia, where it's like like if she was, Rain, if Rain wasn't healing, like she couldn't really do anything. Like this game, if your healer is finished, like nobody needs healing, okay, she's gonna shoot the crap off like everybody on the field, whatever. Really fun game, really enjoyed it. If you like fishing mini games, they have a relatively detailed fishing mini game. Really long for a Tales of game. I think like by the time I beat it, I clocked in around like 60, 70 hours. Tales of games aren't necessarily the longest games, not necessarily a choice, but this is one of the longer ones. Really enjoyed the fight system this time around. In general, I enjoy battle systems where it's like real-time fight systems. I like that a little bit more than turn-based. This is basically, for the Tales of series in general, I like to call it the Dark Souls of Tales of games. You literally have a bonfire, you rest up, you use recipes, which is like a mainstay of Tales of games, whatever, see Miskits, which is another mainstay of Tales of games, at the bonfires and do all that. Excuse me. So, really enjoyable game. It's just with this game, you don't get money from beating enemies. So you're constantly in the shortage of money. Items that usually cost not that much for other Tales of games cost like a crap ton in this game, which is just great because you barely get any money. If you're the type that likes to just play Tales of games or just really any JRPG just for the plot, this game kind of punishes you if you just want to play for the plot. You don't really accrue money, can't really do that much, because everything revolves around like basically have enough money to do stuff. You really don't have that problem fixed till near the end of the game, where if you're doing a lot of side quests or whatever, you gain more money. You'd only get money through side quests. Overall for this game, just for the basic rundown of the plot, your character, he's a slave. Basically, all the Donnas, because there's 2 planets, all the Donnas are on planet Donna. You have Renans on technically planet Rena, but like there's like a mid-satellite, whatever, you'll know when you play it. All the Donnans are being basically enslaved, or they were enslaved like 300 years ago by the Renans, and you're just kind of going from there and you're trying to liberate your people, basically. That's the basic premise. And you're going from there. You've got 5 different regions. Each region is its own element, and each region is ruled over by a lord. And basic premise of the first half of the game is you're going to each region and you're overtaking the lord and liberating the people there. And you're gaining party members, you're going from there, and then plot things happen, etc., etc. The Lord boss fights can be pretty fun. Overall, this is probably one of the most difficult Tales of games you played. I played this game in hard mode, so I can't really gauge it as much. You do have different difficulty settings that you can change throughout the game. If you pick hard mode for the game, you don't have to stick in hard mode, or whatever mode you pick, you can change it at any point in time during the game, as long as it's not during the middle of a fight, which is convenient. So if you kind of like can't beat it on whatever difficulty you're playing, you can change it later and not get stuck. Unlike, well, that's cool. That's not what I meant to do. Awesome. Great. Fantastic. Sorry. So, unlike other Tales of games, usually in any given Tales of game, a lot of JRPGs, you get your full party, which is 4 members, in like maybe a couple hours tops. This game takes you about 14 hours before you get your full like base party of like 4 characters, which is like the longest. It's not that much easy. It's not particularly easy before then. It takes forever. It also does the annoying thing where your main character is amnesic from the get-go, which kind of kills it, because whenever you have an amnesic character, you can only go one direction with it from a plot perspective, which is whatever the super special thing is in the game, that's what they are. It almost always is that. If they're not that, they're special by not being special, like they're a clone or something like that. It's really annoying. So like that killed me with the plot. Plot in general is okay. You don't really play Tales of games for the plot, in my opinion. You play it for everything else. It does the usual Tales of thing where something racism is bad, something we gotta stop the racism. Practically every Tales of game has that. If it's not that, it's poorly done political intrigue. Look at you, Tales of Vesperia, but like it's the thing that happens in every Tales of game, practically. Almost every Tales of game. In general, so with the main thing they do with this game is you have a party-wide it's called CP, but basically healing points. Whenever somebody heals, it takes away from the party-wide heal. So if your healer heals, like they usually do, that takes away from that. So if you have another character that has healing skills, that also takes away from the same meter. So if your healing points are low, and you have your like fire character wants to, they can't heal. So any character that has any type of healing spells, like it takes away from the overall party-wide meter. It's a terrible idea. I don't know why they thought this was awesome. It's bad. Like everybody, like magic points aren't really a thing. If a character can use magic, they can just do it as much as they can within like the constraints of like basically, effectively their belt or their attack weight gauge, whatever their gauge is called for like attack weight time essentially. But like healing spells take away from the meter, and you're constantly going to be dealing with that. There's certain real environmental things, like if you want to break down a barrier, you melt an ice thing, that takes away from your overall like CP gauge too. And near the end of the game, they take away so much points, and you don't have that many to begin with. By the end of the game, I think I had a grand total of like 400, 500 something points. But you have certain areas in the final dungeon, it might cost 50 points just to like break that barrier to continue to proceed throughout the rest of the dungeon. And you have multiple of those, and you have to keep going back and forth because you keep running out of points. And because the item that it takes to heal those points is like super expensive, it's just annoying. There's several, like basically several gameplay mechanic things they do that are not the best. It's still overall a fun game, but you're gonna have moments where you're like, I hate this is dumb, why would you do this? Like I said, it takes forever to get money. Another thing they do in this game is like, what you would typically do with any JRPG is sell your equipment. In this game, you need to keep all your weapons, because a lot of times the upgrades for whatever point in time in that game, whatever point in time you're in the game, builds upon the previous weapon. So if you want to buy a new weapon, let's say you want to buy like prototype A or prototype B, you need the prior prototype A to build upon for prototype B. So you can't really sell any of your weapons. If you didn't know this from the get-go, you kind of screw yourself, but that's another thing you have to worry about. So you have to just sell all your weapons, but you can sell your armor. Another thing you can do for money that gets annoying after a while is like, Tales of games in general, they do the thing with item crafting. You can get materials for item crafting. The easiest way to get around like only being able to make money from side quests, which there aren't that many of depending on what part of the game you're in, just not that many, is you can sell different items you get from item crafting. So then you're constantly having to do that. Like, there's a lot of things that are kind of a chore in the game, but depending on how you want to play it, you can kind of circumvent that. If you play the game in easy mode, you don't care about difficulty, that can get you around a lot of the more difficult aspects, but there are things that they do with this game that aren't the best, but still overall fun, in my opinion. How many people here have played any other Tales of games? Okay, awesome, great. Like I said, Tales of franchise gets franchise. If you want something that isn't Final Fantasy, that's another long-standing JRPG series. Like I said, I recommend that at the beginning of the panel, moving on. Or don't, whatever you want to do, panel, whatever you feel like doing. So Eternal Sonata, how many people play Eternal Sonata? Oh, great. So Eternal Sonata came out on the 360 originally. Years later, they also released it on PS3. It was during a period of time where basically any JRPG the 360 got, if you gave it like either a few months or a couple of years, it came out on PS3 as well. I personally bought 360 because it looked like a lot of JRPGs were going there, but then that was a non-problem, but whatever. Eternal Sonata, the basic premise with this game, which was a big deal at the time, was you're basically playing in the dying dream of Frédéric Chopin, as in the actual composer. Frédéric Chopin, yeah, he is a playable character. Yeah, like, this was crazy at the time. It's like, what? Like, yeah, it's this dying dream. Okay, Japan, whatever. So this is Frédéric Chopin. Is he your hero? Whatever, you play him. All I'm gonna say is when you go into the final fight, don't have Frédéric Chopin in your party. Just throwing that out there. So you play as his dying dream. So crazy hijinks in his dying dream. The world in his dying dream. Whoever has magic abilities or healing abilities, I think it's healing abilities. Whoever has those type of abilities usually is terminally ill with something. So basically, they treat it like lechers, or not lechers, but they treat it like lepers, my bad, because basically you can heal, you're dying. And you just kind of just go from there and just explore this dying dream and just different plot elements that happen in this game. Main villain is going to be Duke Waltz. All their names are music themed. Like one of your characters, like so this character's named Jazz. This character's named Polka. She's falsetto, allegretto, beat, all the names are music themed. So if you're a music major, this is great, because you're just like, oh great, get the review, awesome. Fight system was really innovative throughout the entirety of the game. The fight system slowly but surely evolves. Like even in like the last couple of hours of the game, they give you like a final like version of the fight system. It has a thing with light and darkness. What skills you use, what skills are available for you to use on the battlefield change depending on if you're in the light or in the darkness. When you're out in the field, it's easier because if you're in the sunlight, you know, you got that set of techniques. If you're in a shadow, you have that set of techniques. When you're in caves or dungeons, if you're in the firelight, you get that set of techniques. If you're like anywhere else, you get another set of techniques. This adds the level of depth to the fighting system because depending on what your position is in the field, that's the types of things you can do. And some of your spells might be more powerful for certain, like whether light or dark. Some might be better for one than the other. So you kind of have to do this thing where you have to lure enemies to certain spots that might be more beneficial to you, or trap them in certain spots so you can do things. You also can build upon attacks and like chain attacks. It's a really interesting fight system. I'm a slut for like really interesting fight systems. That's one of the main things I like from this game. It's also a really gorgeous game. It has great scenery, great artwork, great everything. The only thing that sucks is that in the 360 version, at least, you can't backtrack whatsoever, which seems great. So I'm gonna take this off for a second. It seems great at first, but then what happens is you go into this gorgeous area. It looks really pretty. You get through it in about 5 minutes, and then that's it. You'll never see that area again. This game is also really bad with whenever you beat a boss, it's like the entire party forgets they existed. So you can literally beat one of the main like sub-villains for the whole game. And it's like the minute you beat them, it's like, anyway, we're gonna go over here now. It's like, we just beat one of the main dudes. Does anybody have, we beat who now? Like the main, who? Oh, okay, nobody remembers. It's really weird. Like everybody forgets them the minute you beat them. Like I said, it's a gorgeous game, really recommended. At least on the 360 version, it's very short. PS3 versions, I forget if they do any other gameplay changes, but they add 2 other characters. Like they add like the princess and the prince. They weren't playable in the 360 version. You see them a lot, not in your party. PS3 version, they're available though. Move on for that. We have the Growl Lancer series. Who here has played the Growl Lancer series? Okay, great. Nobody knows about this fucking game. It's one of those games, like, I love it. Nobody knows about it. It's really great. I enjoy it. So for this series, originally you get a box set that was called Growl Lancer Generations. And Generations, it was game 2, game 3. They gave you the soundtrack for the game. They gave you a few keychains. They gave you a mini art book. They gave you a lot of stuff. At the time, it was only like $60-something. But if you bought a brand spanking new, it would have been like $90. The people who did this are the same people who like licensed and like not produced, but like did the US version for the Lunar series as well as Rhapsody, if you ever heard that. A lot of these are old games, if you don't know. I get it. The company went under forever ago because the way that they released games, they put a lot of care, love, and effort into it, but they never sold it for the price it needed to be. Like, so basically any unit they were losing money on, and eventually they went under. I think they exist to some degree, but like I haven't like read up more about it, so I can't guarantee how well, I can't tell you how well they're doing right now. But anyway, Groundlings and Generations is game 2, game 3. We got Groundlings 5 forever ago. We didn't get Groundlings, so this is Groundlings 4. I did this in a stupid way. So this is 4, 2, 3, and 5. We didn't have Groundlings 4 for the longest time. Like years later, we got Groundlings 4 on PSP. They didn't have any of the voice work, so it's just completely just no voices. Groundlings 5, we got, I think after this point. There's also a Groundlings 6 that we never got in the US, and Groundlings 1, which Groundlings 2 is the direct sequel to, we never got that in the States either. Also, other fun tidbits. The artist for this game, love this artist to death. Great artist. If you find an art book for this artist, I recommend it, or at least the artist for, or art book for the Groundlings series. The artist for this is known for doing porn. So yeah, if you like the anime stuff, there is some old shit, like OVAs that are like softcore porn you can find for him, but he's one of those artists. There's Shiro Masamune, is another like big name, like artist. Like he did the art for Ghost in the Shell, other stuff. He does porn. This will pop up every once in a while. I always find that's a fun tidbit. Hilarious. But anyway, so this is another kind of like tactical RPG hybrid. It's an older game series. Groundlings, like other plots, are somewhat different. One of the mainstays for the Groundlings games is like fairies. You can see it here. Every game you have fairies. The fairies do different functions. Usually it tells you like, at least for 5, the relationship meter for like your character and all the other characters, how the other characters feel towards your character in the game. You can dress them up depending on the game. You can tell you different like tidbits about like either the party or different aspects of the game. It depends on the game. Groundlings 2 was a lot happening. 2, there was a war that happened that they breezed over, which was basically the plot of game 1. And from that point, you're kind of just trying to like basically deal with this mercenary force that's kind of like growing big, and now that the war is over, the mercenaries have nothing to do, so they're trying to like basically form their own nation because they have nothing. So you're trying to stop that. There's like another enemy type that's like a leftover from like game 1 that was like one of the main villains. He tries to rise up again. You stop that. There's like several things, like somebody that's super close to your character goes evil and is trying to mind control the whole world for like basically for the benefit for the people to prevent any kind of wars, but like you're mind controlling everybody, so that's not good. So you have to stop him at some point. There's a lot of different like major aspects in game 1's plot or game 2's plot, but like you hit as you go along, just without trying to spoil anything. Game 3, basically you're an amnesic hero, because of course you're an amnesic hero. You're trying to, of course, regain your memories, and then basically stop the main villain who's like basically messing up the environment by messing with the magic effectively. And you are going along there, game party members, stopping him. Game 4, I still haven't touched that game, but basically there's a lot going on in the game. It's usually a war thing. Usually it's a tactical RPG of some sort. There's always something war involved. Game 5, Heritage of War, you're playing multiple sets of characters that are dealing with different aspects of like basically fighting the main enemy type, which is called the Screeper. It's a stupid name, but it's a JRPG, so of course it's a stupid name. Screeper enemy types are always like ruining everything for the people in the world, and you basically play as different sets of characters that you're throughout time who are dealing with that threat in their own way, and whatever kind of like political intrigue thing that they're dealing with at the time as well. And you're playing through these different sets of characters. They all pass around a MacGuffin that gets passed from one group to the next that is kind of important. And by the end of the game, you're dealing with the main, like, Screeper that is like the queen of all these things and trying to stop the problem as source, basically. Do not know the plot of 6 because I haven't looked at that. But like, it's a fun game series. I really like I like tactical RPGs in general. One of the things this game does, especially like namely 2, is you have like 8 party members on the field at once, which is insane. They do this weird hybridization, which you can kind of see here, where you move your characters on the map. You can either have a character, like you can target an enemy and have that character like maneuver around the map to get to that enemy, or you can pick different points of the map and have them go there. You have different spells. You can have that like have different levels. The higher level spells you get like a crappy like FMV, like good at the time, terrible nowadays FMV animation with it. Different skill sets. You get like you have things called ranged weapons, which is bigger in game 2, but ranged weapons you can customize with like different gems. The ranged weapon is always, like the type of weapon it is always the same for your character, at least in game 2 and 1, but like different gems you get can add different effects to the ranged weapon, like giving you multiple attacks or increasing your speed, increasing your attack, things like that. Heritage of War, which is the 5th game, you get the ability where you basically have a skill tree, so you can learn different skills on that tree. And you get different skills from different types of gems for your rank weapon, I believe. I'm going blank with that. We have a skill tree and you get different skills from that and different like either attacks, stat boosts, whatever from that. And we were just going over from there. I enjoy the RPG. Like I said, it's got gorgeous artwork. In-game is older. It didn't really age all that well, but it's a fun game to play. I like 2 the most of the whole series. 5 is kind of weak. Is there. 2 I really like, especially because a lot of games you give dialogue options for characters. 2 is one of the few games I have ever played where all the dialogue options for the most part are voice. Your main character's voice. So even because a lot of times when you play games and they have dialogue options, the character isn't voice. You play Persona games, like it's like that. Any game where you have dialogue options, usually your character isn't voice. At least for JRPGs. Western RPGs aren't as bad with that. JRPGs is pretty bad. Groundlands 2, all the lines are voice. He's always saying something. He has a lot of voice roles, and I really enjoyed that. It's a thing for me at the time. A little bit of a cheat, but the Phoenix Wright series, really recommend that. How many people have played Phoenix Wright games at all? Okay, great. I currently started working my way through the games last year. I'm on Apollo Justice right now. On the final case, I'm just going through that. There's a lot of games. There's more games than what's shown in this picture, but this is like a good image for like showing most of the games. One of the games we more recently got that actually released forever ago, but we finally got in the States, was the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I forgot how many years ago that came out in Japan, but it came out years ago in Japan, but we finally got it on the Switch. Switch has been great because we've been getting a lot of either remakes of games or basically more availability for like older JRPGs, which is awesome. Phoenix Wright series is a basically courtroom drama. It's a visual novel style game. It's not a JRPG, but I just want to shove it in here. It's really quirky. You got really fun characters. If you like court dramas or murder mystery style games, I really recommend it. All the names are puns. Like in the Japanese version of the game, like all the names are different. You can look that up and find the differences in names, what they were in Japanese version. In general, at least at the time, like the English names overtook the Japanese names. So even in Japan, they refer to the characters by their English names. All the names are some level of pun. Like there's one character named Wendy Oldbag. It's an old lady that won't shut up. Like her text a lot of times will just rapid fire just appear on the screen because she just talks. All the names are puns. Phoenix Wright in general his name is really punny. All the names are puns. First game, like is what it is. Like you have 5 cases from that game. It reduced to 4 cases, but they added a new mechanic with the Magatama. You can see that here. Magatama added this feature where basically you can see the lies or you can see the chains in people's hearts, and you have to basically get enough evidence because every investigation period of the game you get evidence for your case. You have the trial period where you go over the case. You're in court. You defend your defendant. Basic premise is you're a defense attorney. For the Phoenix Wright games, it's Phoenix Wright. For the Apollo Justice game, it's Apollo Justice. Yes, they will totally use their names in a very punny way. But you're a defense attorney. You're up against always whoever's like the top prosecutor at the time. For the Phoenix Wright games, each game you have another prosecutor who's going to be the main prosecutor throughout the course of the game that you're dealing with. With maybe a special visit from like another prosecutor, either from a previous game or just some new prosecutor. Yeah, for previous game, for game 3 and game 2. But that's the basic premise. You're a defense attorney defending your defendant. You have 5 cases in the first game. The second and third game, you have 4 cases. The fifth game, you have 5 cases again. So you have like 5 different defendants you have to defend. Each game, each case, you have a section where you're collecting evidence in the investigation period. You have a section where it's the trial period, so just in court and you're trying your case. And you're basically using all the pieces of evidence you found in the investigation period to make your case effectively in the trial period. Move on for that. So the investigation period, for game 2 onwards, they introduced a Magatama feature where basically, like I said, you're finding the lies, you're identifying the lies, and you're using your evidence to break said like chains of lies. It's weird, just go with it. And basically it helps you tell how long the investigation period is gonna take basically. Whenever you defeat, usually there's like 2 up to like 4 of these in the investigation section. Wherever you beat both of these, you know your investigation section is over. It doesn't do things like, you can't miss evidence, so you can't make the game unwinnable. But when you get to your trial period, especially game 2 onwards, it can get difficult, and you might have periods of time where you're just sitting there like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, what piece of evidence I'm supposed to use, but like, I have it at some point. The first 2 games are great. 2 is a little bit weaker. I enjoyed it, but you could just go. Game 3, I really enjoyed. There's a lot of fun things happening with game 3. All the cases to me are really fun. You get to see some cases from your mentor from the previous games, or the previous game, like see her like original cases, and I really enjoy it. Apollo Justice, it might take a little bit to get used to, but it's a fun game. They changed up some of the things. They add new mechanics. Pretty much every case so far in Apollo Justice, they add a new mechanic to some degree. Whether like they got rid of the Magatama system, so you don't have to worry about that. But they add this weird system for basically telling people's tells in court. So like somebody might have a weird eye twitch whenever they tell a lie. It's things like that. You look out for physical features that happen, or physical things that happen on that person, or like body language for that person that gives away the fact that they're lying, and you press that, or you give evidence, and then like you go from there. And then like I said, every case there's like a new mechanic. Great Ace Chronicles, I'm not on that set of games yet. Well, like it's more stuff. It's more like Victorian style Phoenix Wright games, like same premise, but even further back in time. There's also a Phoenix Wright game on like mobile, at least on the Android. I'm assuming it's also on iPhone as well. I forgot the subtitle for that game, but there is a great Phoenix Wright game on that. Still kicking. This game series came out, the first game came out in 2001, so I'm hella late to this game series. 2001, there was a remake for the OG trilogy for the 3DS, like forever, like 2014 era. An anime came out for the game in like 2017. There's also a live action and an anime if you want to do all that. Like Phoenix Wright series still kicking strong in Japan, still like alive in the US. So if you want to do that, the fandom isn't dead like certain things are tier for certain game series. But yeah, you can do that. It's really fun. I really recommend you like court dramas. Like I said, this is cheap. It's not a JRPG, but I want to talk about it. Anyway, next game is the Arts and Elko series. Who's played any of the Arts and Elko games? Yeah, this is like Growl Answer. Nobody knows about this. It came out during a period of time in like the US where there's like a weird schlock fest with JRPGs. It's not bad at all, but the reviews are middling. I had a lot of fun with it. It's very music involved. Like I totally legally acquired the soundtrack for these 3 games like forever ago. It's over 700 songs. It's very music based. Like one of the main mechanics of the game is you have women called Raventails. All your Raventails use song magic. You can craft song magic by doing like dives into their mind space, working through their mental issues effectively, and then like you craft better song magic from that. All your magic basically from that game is coming from your Raventails, which do song magic, like I said. The basic premise for all 3 games is that the central landmass through some calamity forever ago, was completely destroyed, and all the, like the bits and pieces of landmass are on this massive tower, and you just basically go through the tower, you deal with whatever problem you're dealing with throughout all 3 games. First game, you have viruses, because basically the Raventails can interface with the tower like some kind of computer thing. The interface with the tower, all the sound magic basically taps into the powers, or the aspects, or basically the magical aspect of the tower, and that's the booster magic. Certain attacks are literally, you're summoning the tower to attack the enemy on the field. First game you're dealing, so this is the first game, second game, third game. First game, there's like viruses that are around, you're stopping the viruses to try to get to the core aspect of the viruses. The second game, there's like a war, and a central landmass, like the landmasses on the tower are falling off. So you're trying to find the like legendary song magic to basically heal the world effectively. You're trying to replenish the like what landmass is left. And it goes from like having 1 Raventail in your party to 2 Raventails to worry about. They have different synergies with each other. You get like a grand total of like 3 Raventails. Each game you get up to 3 Raventails. Arsenal 3, you're dealing with basically people can be zombified effectively, and then all of your Raventails have split personalities, and they have their own set of song magic. It's a lot of shit happening. There's also the Are No Surge game. Like, we got the second game. There's 2 games. We got the second one. Are No Surge series, which is another like spin-off of the Arts and Elko series. There's a lot. I will show the video of this just to give an example of the music. It's very gorgeous. If nothing else, I recommend at least checking out the soundtrack for this game. It's really nice. That's game 2, but whatever. Game 1. So this is game 1. Also recommend getting the art book for this. The artwork is gorgeous. The soundtrack's amazing. Gameplay is pretty fun too. Regular turn-based RPG. I'll show you pictures later. That basically wraps up what I just explained more succinctly about what the backstory is for the world. What? No, so game 1 and 2 is just regular turn-based strategy. Game 3 is weirdly rhythm-based. I'm gonna get to that in a second. It doesn't work whatsoever. But that's the only time they have like a rhythm aspect. The main way the music comes up is with like crafting song magic. And that's the main aspect of how the music intertwines with like the actual gameplay, but it's not a rhythm game. It would make sense if it was, but it didn't go that route. It doesn't really, even with the third game where they kind of try to do something with that, it doesn't really matter, which is, the fight system is terrible in game 3. It was the weakest entry in my opinion, but also the voice acting in the game's pretty good. Game 2 was like hit and miss with certain characters. Arts and Elko 2, in my opinion, is the best of the series. It's really fun. Like the plot's more in depth, and there's just more difficulty in a good way. And just, to me, it's overall more just a better quality game. But game 2, like they did a worse job with translations. There's a really small tidbit in game 2, but like they didn't translate it. There's a voice clip, you hear it, it's in Japanese, and it's like, oops. Somebody made oopsies with the translation department. But there's a lot of like hiccups like that. Either just bad translations or just they didn't translate the one section. But like I said, it has more issues with that in that nature go. So like I said, this is like the turn-based. So this is game 1, it's turn-based. Game 2 is turn-based. Like you always have your Raventail at the back of the party. You have certain enemies that can attack your Raventail directly, and it's really easy to block in game 1 because the game will tell you, hey, your Raventail's about to attack. You should block that, and you block it, whatever. Game 1 is painfully easy. It's almost impossible to game over at any point. The only way you can game over is if you just straight up just not paying attention, which almost happened to me. Even then, it's like by the end of of the game, you're so OP, like nothing can stop you. With any given song, like I said, you craft song magic within the game by basically diving to the cosmosphere of a Raventail. Each cosmosphere is basically the deeper you go, the more psychological issues you deal with for that Raventail. You get up to 3 Raventails. Each of them have their own psychological issues you need to deal with. The deeper you go, the more powerful the song magic you can craft. Each level also gives you a new costume for that character. If you can't tell, this is very much a waifu game. It's all about the waifus in this game. Each game, you have like a double costume for the character. You have or for your Raventail, you have an angel costume. You have the hot bath costume. You have the you're basically not wearing anything costume. Each like Raventail has that for like all the games. You have up to 10 levels. So you could go past 10 levels for like at least the first 2 games. Third game, I'm not 100% sure. I'm still working on that one, honestly. But like they have different costumes you can put on them and different costumes they can wear. Game 2, you have 2 Raventails you can have on the field at the same time. It's more difficult in a good way. In this case, to block for your Raventail if an enemy can directly target them, you actually have to time the button press. And sometimes they'll do crap like the screen is literally just shaking, and you have to time when you hit the button with when like the meter matches up with like the ping on the meter. So it's a little bit more difficult, but like it's, in my opinion, it's good because it's not like you can blind idiot win the game. Similar thing with the magic system where you're crafting magic, song magic, deeper levels, more powerful skills, more costumes. The other thing you could do in both games is you can have hot baths with the Raventails where you can iron craft different bath toys which will increase their song magic and different crap like that, because that's the thing that happens in this game. You can customize your spells to certain degrees. Like you can have your base like fireball attack, but with like the hot bath, seeing like a hot bath like mechanic, you can customize that fireball attack. So now like whenever you use that attack, it can also like heal your party members or boost the defense of everybody in your party or whatever. But you can like basically customize the skills to a certain degree, which is by the end of game 1, you basically are so broken nothing can stop you. You're just a force to be reckoned with. Game 3, they changed it up, and you can kind of see in this screenshot where you go from a turn-based fight system to a real-time fight system. You can see this mirror on the bottom where there's a meter, like a music meter. Basically, whenever you attack on the peaks of the frequency range, you do more damage. It doesn't work. You're mashing X the entire time. It's dumb. But that's the thing. And because of the system, your Raventail can basically get attacked at any point. All it takes is for an enemy deciding at random, you know what, I'm going to attack your waifu. And you just go right up to them and then you defend them. That's it. Like I said, with the Raventails for game 3, they all have split personalities where they look completely different from how they usually look. All the split personalities have their own set of song magic and own set of costumes, and there's more stuff going on with Raventails in that game. But like the overall plot, the overall game is weaker. It's more anime. This might mean more to some of you than others, where it's just a lot of stupid anime tropes are appearing in this that aren't fun. It's all the like really dumb anime tropes. This game overall is pretty anime, but the game 3 is when it's the most egregious. Like I said, game 2 is the strongest. You could get this game series, I think, no problem still. You still find on Amazon or eBay. It won't cost you that much. Like I said, the music's really great. The plot for the first game is kind of meh. Game 2 gets way more intricate. Game 3, honestly, the plot has a lot going on as well. It's just overall gameplay isn't that fun. So I recommend the series. Like I said, it's not that expensive. If you also want to check out other games in the series, there's also the R No Surge series. We got game 2 in America. You can read things about game 1. I think you can find LPs of game 1 on YouTube if you want to, but that is the option if you want to do that. From that, we have an older game series, Lunar. There's a third game. I never talk about the third game. Came out forever afterwards on the DS, I believe, but it's 2 games that are like my childhood. How many people here have played Lunar? Whether Sega CD? Okay, great. So originally this game came out on Sega CD, I believe, and then the remake came out on the PlayStation. This came out forever ago. This came out when Toys R Us was still a thing. It's old. It's PlayStation. It's old. We got Lunar Eternal Blue, which is the second game. I believe we got that first, and then we got Silver Star Story. Now, like the Growlancer set of games, or Growlancer iterations, the box set for the base game for this, it was 4 discs. You got like a nice little booklet, because I miss the days that JRPGs came up with nice little booklets that gave you basic information about the game, maybe a mini art book depending. So you got a nice hardcover mini art book for the game, which gave you like a little like game guide for like the first hour or so of the game. You got a little fabric map of the world. You got little game pieces. You got a thick pendant, which is Lucia's pendant. You can kind of see it in the image. You have her little thick pendant. It's a nice quality pendant. It was hard melt. Like you could beat somebody with that pendant. It was a nice quality pendant. Can't find that crap now. I still have mine, but like at the time you got that. It was a nice little set. You got like a nice amount of things with it. I think it cost me like $49 at the time. I don't know how much it costs now. I feel like it's on PlayStation Network. I haven't checked. Silver Star Story is a similar deal. You didn't get like any jewelry or anything, but like again, you got like a nice like booklet for the game guide, or booklet for like artwork, a little bit of a game guide. You got some like pieces, map pieces. You got the soundtrack for the game. Both of them came with a soundtrack and like something else for Silver Star Story. I'm forgetting. Both games are multiple discs because it's that era of gaming. Like I said, both of them came out 16-bit. First game, you play as Alex. You're trying to follow in the footsteps of the previous Dragon Master dying, and you're just basically trying to become a Dragon Master, and your girlfriend Luna supports you, and you're just kind of going from there. Lunar Eternal Blue, you're an explorer hero, who's the guy in the back. You're just exploring a cave, and you run across a hot chick in a crystal who awakens, and then shit gets real from that point, basically. Basically, the things you're dealing with in game 2, it does it's a continuation from a Silver Star Story. Not completely. There's certain things that pop up. It's not like a one-for-one continuation, so you can play them out of order. So older game, like I said, the plot's very basic love story for the second game especially. Is fully voice acted, at least in the PlayStation version. Voice acting, in my opinion, still holds up pretty well, especially compared to some of the more cash grabby JRPGs. They have songs. It's another game where music's sort of a big deal. Like Eternal Blue, like Lucia, who's like a messenger from the goddess. Lucia likes to sing. She has voice. There's cutscenes where she sings. The soundtrack comes with those like songs where she's singing them. It's a typical turn-based RPG. This is if it's not the first, it's the second JRPG I've played forever ago. It's always got a special place in my heart. Love it to death. Great game. If you want something more old school or more classic, I highly recommend playing this. So we got the Star Ocean series. Who here has played anything for Star Ocean series? Awesome. So my first Star Ocean game, awesome. Do you have a question or comment?
I just it feels like you've been talking for like an hour straight. You want to like take a 5-minute break?
No, I'm good. I'm so used to doing panels. I used to do 2-hour panels. I had like a dot hack panel at one point where I went over the entirety of the dot hack series. Not just the games, so like, oh, this connects to this, there's this anime, and there's this stuff. Yeah, I could talk my ass off. So I'm used to it. Thanks for the concern though. So Star Ocean series, my first game was Till the End of Time, which is the most hated game of the Star Ocean series. Was like, what? Yeah, it sure is. It's so funny because I played Till the End of Time. I'm in the void. I don't know anybody else who played the game. As I met more people who played the game, it's like, yeah, hate Till the End of Time. Like, that was my first one, and it's still my favorite JRPG. There's a very specific plot reason in 3, which most people hate. I get it. I love Till the End of Time to death. I do not blame anybody who hates this game. If it screws with the entire timeline of Star Ocean. That's why every Star Ocean that comes after it, it's like, it's before it, it's like pocket dimension. I don't know. Thanks Till the End of Time. You fucked with the fucking plot line. So anyway, you have Star Ocean 1, 2. So 1, 2, first departure, second departure for the PSP remakes. The most loved Star Ocean game is usually the second one. That's the one everybody and their mom loves. It's like I'm still working my way through Star Ocean series, honestly. Last Hope came out on 360 PS3. I haven't played Second Departure yet. I have the game. I haven't played it. At least for the PSP remake, you can play as the male or female lead. You have Star Ocean Faithlessness, I don't know, the subtitle's stupid. You have that one.
And faithlessness.
What?
Integrity.
Integrity and faithlessness.
Faithlessness.
Thank you. So it's a short game. I'll get to you in a second. It's a short game, but you're meant to replay the crap out of it based off like the gamer reward things you get from the game. There's also, I'm not even gonna attempt to say a name. There's a mobile game for Star Ocean, as well as recently. This year we're supposed to get another Star Ocean game, which I'm glad the series is not dead. I love it to death. But you had your hand raised.
Yes, I did. I just want to mention that there are 2 direct references to Star Ocean to the End of Time in Radiata Stories.
Oh, nice. Okay. Riot Source is another.
I hope you go over that game.
I don't touch on that game because I know exactly what game you're talking about. I haven't played it yet, so it's not in this panel. In general, in this panel, if I didn't play the game, I try to not have it. If it's a game series I played through most of it, I have it. Radiated Source is also a really good RPG series. I don't talk about that here, but I also recommend that. I'm going to show you the trailer for this game because I have that. It looks really interesting. The main character looks dumb as crap, but whatever. It's Star Ocean. Edge Maverick, I didn't like either from Last Hope. I can talk more about that later. This game is supposed to be coming out this year. I think they made announcements for it last year. That's when I started seeing things pop up.
Scanning craft. Pan-Galactic Federation battleship, the Astoria. Weapons activity detected. Readying third
Starboard
strike.
thrusters to full power.
There's no time.
No way!
Abandoned ship. All crew members get to an escape.
And this game's gonna be on PS5, maybe PS4, but definitely PS5. Oh, don't screw up, video. Don't screw up. Don't screw me. Also, worked before. There we go. You can fly. That's all you need to see.
Are you quite all right?
Well, the video's pissed me
Tell your
off,
offering.
but you get the
Thanks,
feel.
come on.
We're getting a new Star Ocean game. That's all you need to see. That the flying mechanic looks interesting, but yeah, new Star Ocean series in general is a space opera style series. Till the End of Time for me came out around Till the End of Time when it originally came around the same time as Xenosaga. Xenosaga is another big space opera series, but like that's a whole nother sordid tale. But anyway, so first, all these games more or less continue from the other one. So you have 1, 2, then you have 3. 3 has a very specific plot point, completely screws with the rest of the timeline. Last Hope, I believe, is like a weird point where it's like after 2 but before 3. I forget exactly where like Integrity is on the timeline. I'm assuming that's also before Till the End of Time, if not a pocket dimension. Divine Force, I haven't heard, like I haven't looked at that game or like any other information for that game. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty sure that's another game that's gonna screw with like it's either before Till the End of Time or pocket dimension. Till the End of Time, in my opinion, isn't terrible. It's just the plot point messes the whole timeline up. So anyway, so you have first departure, second departure, just gameplay clips for that. All the games, at least for the remakes for the PSP, for the first and second game, all of them are real-time fight systems. So like I said, like I like that particular style of fight system for RPGs. So it's like that. First departure is really fun. Basic premise for the first game is you are on one planet, you're Lesser Felpool. Also, the Star Ocean series has this thing with different races effectively are based off, you evolve from X species. So you have a planet called like Felpool. The people on that planet all evolve from cats. So they have cat ears, cat tail. You have Lesser Felpool, which are basically like, it's like, whatever her name is, from Darkstalkers to Cat Girl, they're basically full-on cat girls. They can turn back into a cat, turn out from being a cat, but they're more cat-like. And you have other planets, like you have a species that evolved from dolphins, you have a species that evolved from birds, that's also on this planet, etc., etc. So, game 1, basically, you're on the planet. a disease breaks out that petrifies people. People from space effectively land on your planet because you're relatively like not particularly evolved. You're not at the point where you're at space travel. They crash land on your planet, and basically shenanigans happen. You time travel, and you're trying to stop the disease that causes people to petrify. Game 2 is a sequel from that. I forget the specific plot for that because it's been too long. There's a little bit of a continuation and more things happening in space that's bad for the universe. Game 3, you have the race of people, or a race called the Vendrini or Vendini, I forgot what they're called, like it's something like that. But they're shark people and they're trying to kill everything. You don't know why, but they're trying to kill like you and basically a lot of humanity. And then you find out why, and this is, I thought was clever, but it's stupid. And it just evolves from there. Game, like Last Hope, basically you're trying to colonize another planet because typical like futuristic plot, humanity screwed up Earth, you're trying to find a new planet to colonize. Like another race that's basically elf-like is trying to also help you find a new planet to colonize, and you go from there. You find another species that also is like kind of poses a threat to, versus just you, and then it poses a threat to like the rest of the universe, and you're trying to defeat it. All the games are fun. All the games are really big into item crafting. All the games are really big into basically different endings with different characters. So game 3, you can actually get specific endings with people. Last Hope and First Departure, I'm assuming Second Departure, do the thing where you could get like the best ending for a character, but it's not necessarily ending with you. You have like a girlfriend-like character, you could get your own ending with that character. And in the case of like in the case of Last Hope, you can determine whether you could basically friend zone your love interest, or you could get married to her. I friend zoned her because I hate her. But like you could get like different endings with that particular character, but otherwise you can get the best ending for different characters, but not necessarily with you. Till the end of time, you get different endings with a specific character. Till the end of time, I had the most complicated system I've ever dealt with getting endings for characters. You need a game guide to get the endings. It's so stupid. Things like, even if a character wasn't, like, so you do things in the game that can affect basically the relationship mirror with that character to your character. That makes sense, that's most games. Things like, even if that character wasn't in your party and won't be joining your party for another 10 hours, yeah, you can do things in the game that affects the relationship mirror of that character to you. And you're like, you're not even in my party. Yeah, well, they hate you because you went rummaging through the trash of this character that doesn't join you till 10 hours from now. They now hate you.
Don't forget mentioning your blood type.
Oh yeah, mention your blood type. There's a certain part in the game, if you didn't realize that was a thing, one of 3 different characters can join you in a very specific point of the game. If you didn't know that, oh well. There's also like, depending on what party makeup you have by the end of the game, that can screw up your little relationship mirror, how to make it work. There's literally basically a rocket science mirror in the game guide for like, you need to have this party set up for this part of the game guide to work. You need to have that party set up for this part of the game guide to work, or else it's just gonna be like, I don't know what's happening. It's unnecessarily complicated, and I hate it so much. But yeah, usually the other games, you can have like up to 4 party members. Stars until the end of time, you get only 3, which kind of sucks, we only have 3. 3 also introduced MP kills. That was a big aspect of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, till the end of time, I personally like it. One of the main aspects is like for the most of the game, like you crash land on one planet and you just have to deal with that until you get rescued. Last Hope does my favorite thing, which shouldn't even happen. So Last Hope came out 360 era. Last Hope came out with 3 game discs. There was a plan for a game disc. By the time you get to the end game, if you're going back through the game doing old quests, you're gonna go back to a side quest that's on like a planet from like the earlier part of the game. You have to swap out discs. And I'm like, I don't remember this since Monster Rancher, because Monster Rancher you do the disc thing. Otherwise, old games do the disc swap thing. But yeah, 360 had to do disc swaps because they're dumb. Last Hope actually has pretty decent reviews. It's not really that good of a game. dumb. The plot's dumb, but it's decent, whatever. I really like the fight system. You can swap out party members at any point. Even if a party member has been KO'd, you can swap them out for a party member on reserve. And basically you do that game with like swap out whoever's KO'd with somebody who isn't KO'd to heal them. The only thing that sucks is that your party members don't necessarily benefit from like trickle down effect from XP. So it could be a point where your level 60 party is having struggles. You swap out your level 60 party member with like a level 30 party member, and you're sitting there like, I've made a mistake. Please don't die. I just need you to stay alive long enough to heal somebody else. But I really like that aspect of the fight system. All the fight systems are pretty interesting, pretty fun to do. All the games are pretty well known for being really long and having extra dungeons that go even longer. I think, at least in like till the end of time, the level cap was like 250. I think main game you could get up to like 80, 90 if you're really level grinding. By the end of the game you get up to 250. I think it's lower for first departure and second departure. All of them have like extra dungeons where the final boss of the game is always Gabriel Celestia. I forget if it's Celestia, but Gabriel's always like the final boss. And you just go from there. Like I said, it's a space opera style game. Last Hope, you do have your own spaceship, and you can like room people with each other, and you can change what type, like the room arrangements, which can increase the relationship meters with different characters with each other. Look, I haven't played Integrity yet. I have a horrible backlog for games, but it's also fun. Character designs are interesting. Like I said, I recommend that game series. Moving on. Slow but surely. So the Dot Hack series, there's a lot. Who here has played any Dot Hack game? Any game, great. So like I said, Dot Hack series, there's a lot going on with that, kind of said a little bit earlier. So you have the first four games. First four games like Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, Quarantine. If you have all four game discs, they lined up and you have a little like Poochie, that's like Poochie Gusso, like or Grunty in America, running across the game disc. It just says Mon Ami. It was cute. So first four games directly follow Dot Hack sign, because it's one of those games, it's one of those franchises where everything is connected. The anime is connected to the games, connected to the manga, connected to the light novels, all that shit's connected. So you have Dot Hack sign anime came out. If you try to rewatch that, it's terrible, but it was fun at the time. So you had the first four games. After the first four games, you had like Legend of the Twilight, you have and then you have Dot Hack Roots, which is like the next bigger, like longer game anime series. After Dot Hack Roots, you have Dot Hack GU, which directly continues Dot Hack GU. You're playing as the main character from Dot Hack Roots. And then Dot Hack GU Last Recode came out within the last like 4 or 5 years. It's basically the first 3 games and then more content. It's like another version of the world. Overall, Dot Hack series in general is it's basically a JRPG simulating an MMORPG. The world is the name of the MMORPG. The main deal with this game is that there's a monster in the world that some people or some players encounter that is not killable, and usually whoever encounters it winds up in the coma after being defeated by it. So that's the main, like the central mystery of the world. And pretty much every game deals with that to some degree or another. Like I said, this game really is connected. There's a lot that happens. I have another panel that goes way too much into that, but it's all connected. If you can't tell, totally pulled this slide from another panel, but whatever, it still works. So like I said, it picks up where the anime left off. It tries to simulate an MMORPG. So you have the aspect like by the end of like the first 4 games, by the end of like the GU series, you have like 30 to 40 different characters that are available for you to like use and battle. You can have up to 2 or have up to 3 people on the battle at any given time for both sets of games. The first 4 games kind of dumb, because by the time you hit game 3 or game 4, they already pick out your party. It's your character, Black Rose, and Balmung. Balmung is in Dot Hack Sign, so that was an awesome thing for me at the time. They pretty much determine your entire party, so you literally have like 30 other characters that's like, they don't matter. It's these 2 other dudes and your character. Those are the only people who matter. Like Dot Hack Legend of Twilight, like that little short anime series, they make reference to some of your other party members like Sandro and what is her name? What your Mistral, who was like your main mage? It's not Mistral. It's like her dart. It's complicated. But like for the most part, you have a bunch of characters that they don't really do anything with. If you play with that character and do certain missions, you could develop like pretty much any given character a little bit more, but they don't get that much more developed. GU is a little bit better with developing characters, but same issue. You have like 30-something characters. It's not as bad. It doesn't do the same issue. It doesn't have the same issues as the first 4 games of basically determining who your final, second, third party member is by the end of the game. You can pretty much have whoever you want in your party, except for very specific quests. But for the most part, like you can always choose at least your third party member. Yes.
Are the GU games self-contained, or do I need the other .hack games? Because I only have GU.
You kind of need to know the other games, but you can just research the basic premise. As long as you understand the basic premise, that's the only thing that matters. Gameplay wise, it's like there's certain things that change from the first set of games to this one, but like it really doesn't matter if you've never played the first 4. But they will do things where they'll make references and stuff like that, but it's not like you won't know what's going on. I can give you a better breakdown if you ever wanted that, but like you'll be able to play the game. Both sets of games are pretty linear. You go from plot point to plot point. Both of these are dungeon crawlers. If you don't care for dungeon crawlers, like that's the thing. Both of them are dungeon crawlers. I don't particularly care for dungeon crawlers, but I made it through this game somehow. Like I said, there's a lot of unnecessary characters because they don't really matter to give you that MMORPG feel. Plot point wise, Ovan's kind of annoying. He does a big dick move, and you're just like, why would you do that? Ovan was also mentioned in Roots. Like I said, there's a lot of characters in Roots, the anime, that appear in GU because it's a direct continuation for that. Even the first 4 games, they continue Dahak Sign, but it's not all the same exact characters. Like by the time you hit game 3 and 4, or each game you can recruit at least 1 or 2 characters that are like secret hidden characters that are from the like Dahak Sign, but like it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the plot all that much. GU from Roots, like actively, like you're playing as the main character from Roots. One of the central premises for GU is from Roots, you basically fight one of those monsters or you get data hacked or data drained, which is like a thing. You get data drain, it resets your character data, you lose all of your contacts, and you have to basically start from level 1. So you're going from there, which just explains why you go from like being OP as crap in Roots to like you're level 1 now. You reestablish all of your connections. You had like a title and everything. Everybody knew you. You were super well known, but like nobody thinks it's you because it's like, oh well, like Terror of Death was your nickname. Like, well, Terror of Death was like super powerful, and you're like nobody. It's like, I lost all my data, and you just go from there. But anyway, moving on. So you have the Zero Escape series. This is my other cheat. Who here has played any game from the Zero Escape series? Awesome, awesome. So Zero Escape is directly influenced, or like Danganronpa gets its influence from the Zero Escape series. It's another like visual novel style series, mystery, puzzle games of solving a lot of puzzles to get through the game. These are also the same people. They did the AI Somnium Files. There's also a second game that came out within the last 3 to 4 years. Both of these are on Vita. Getting back to Zero Escape. Like I said, it's a puzzle series. 999, which is on the DS. Basic premise is you're locked on a ship and you're trying to escape by playing the nullery games. The nullery games is what they're always called. Basically, everything's very 9-centric. You have to get through door 9 to escape. In game 1's a sinking ship. Game 2, you're just locked in the facility, but you're trying to escape. But with their nullery games, it's like Allied Betray, and that's the huge aspect. ZTD, you're locked in the facility. Similar premise, you're trying to escape. Still nullery games, not as much as the first 2 go. ZTD is the third and final game in the series. We barely got that. The only reason why that exists is because of the American audience. Otherwise, it almost didn't happen. And if you were playing these as they were coming out, there was a massive time gap between the ZTD, which is the third game, and VLR, because there wasn't the money and you couldn't do it. VLR leaves off on a cliffhanger where it's just like, obviously there's more content that's supposed to happen. It just wasn't happening because Mouse, did you die? Okay. It wasn't happening because there was like no budget for it. VLR, in my opinion, is the best game in the series. ZTD is kind of weak, but it makes sense. They had like no budget. It's good for what it is. 999 is really good too, but like, 99 is really good for what it is too. It re-released on Steam, fully voiced if you want to play it, so you get all the voices, and it looks way better, cleaned it up. It's a really nice game, really recommend it. The characters are great. VLR has a lot more going on. There's a lot more like plot twists and things happening. Super recommend this series. Enjoy the dev. Pretty long. You'll love it. From there, S&T series in general. Who here has played anything not Persona? I don't care, just not Persona. Great. Which one?
SMT4, SMT5, Soul Hackers,
Something like
a
Friends.
bit of Devil Survivor 2. Yeah, I think that's
Okay, awesome. Anybody else? Anybody play Strange Journey or? Okay.
A bit of the beginning.
Okay. Anybody else here has ever played like Persona and Persona 2, like the original 2 games? Awesome, great. So Persona, there's nothing wrong with Persona. Don't get me wrong. If you play SMT proper, Persona is so far from like the SMT series mainline. We're not even going to talk about Catherine, which is like, it's not, again, it's not that it's bad, but if you're used to SMT and SMT plot lines, it's so far from it. Persona and Persona 2, and Persona 2 is like there's 2 and there's a sequel to Persona 2. They're more SMT-like. They're more SMT plot-like, because SMT plots get really involved really fast, and there's a lot happening. And usually the world's at stake. Persona 5 doesn't even have this level of stakes. It's just like you might get erased from existence with the worst possible ending. It doesn't bother with the like neutral law and like chaos roots. It's its own thing. But like if you're used to SMT style plots, like Persona isn't the same. I really recommend Persona and Persona 2 if you can find it and not go broke. I was looking up these games. It costs like $300 if you want to get these games. Problem with Atlas games is once they release, a lot of times they don't necessarily do re-releases, and it's very hard to find them. Either you have the friend that's super obsessed that has all the games, or you lucked out and you found something at like a garage sale or whatever, or you already have it, or you're screwed. Yes.
Yeah, I just remember, like, if you still have a Vita, and I think their PS store is still open, Persona 1 and 2 are still.
Okay, great. Yeah, some of these I didn't double check with PlayStation Network, so some of them, like, if you try to find a physical copy, it's really expensive. Look at PlayStation Network. If you can't find it there, secondhand shops, eBay, see if you have a friend you can borrow it from, something. Like, on this series, like, once I'm trying to work through Digital Devil Saga, you can find that. It's not going to cost you that much. Like, Devil Survivor you still find won't cost you too much. SMT5 is the most recent thing on Switch. Recommend getting that. Devil Summoner is really fun. That's another one that's going to be very hard to find. Strange Journey and like SMT4 and SMT4 Apocalypse, you can also find those. Those might be pricey, but not like $200, $300 pricey. Another game I have is Pokemon Conquest. Who here has played Pokemon Conquest? Nobody? So this is a tactical RPG Pokemon game. It fuses the ambition of Nobunaga with Pokemon. So you have feudal warlords, you have Date, you have Oda Nobunaga, you have Oichi, you have real life like Sengoku figures. All of them have their like own like elemental theme Pokemon. They have their own gyms. Like Ieyasu is fire theme. You can recruit them. You can build your own little team of warlords. They all have their own Pokemon. It's fantastic. Nobody fucking knows about this game. It released at the same time as Pokemon Black and White, so it got buried. Like nobody knew about it. They didn't advertise it. I hate that they did, but it's a really fun game. Please play it. If you like tactical RPGs, especially like it's tactical RPGs with like Pokemon. So these are my honorable mentions. These are things that like either they're not JRPGs or I haven't beaten it yet, or just on here. So Chrono Cross was one of my first 2 JRPGs. I love it to death. Chrono Trigger is first. I played Chrono Cross. That's my childhood. Trigger's also a good game. Came first. Chrono Cross is a sequel from it. Chrono Cross has a lot going on. I love it to death. Please play it. If you want like older PlayStation era RPGs, play that. Xenoblade Chronicles for like Wii, also a great game. Bonkaios for GameCube. Bonkaios you find a problem. Origins is going to be a little bit like of a search. You can't find it. It might cost you a pretty penny, but you can't find it. It's like tactically, so turn-based strategy game, but card games. Like all your techniques and stuff are based off cards that you have, and you can customize your deck. Interesting fight system. You have the Golden Sun series. 1 and Lost Age were really originally supposed to be one game, but was so long they split it into 2. Dark Dawn is like the sequel to both of those. Xenosaga series 1 and 2 you can find. Have good luck finding 3. It's really hard. 1 and 2 will cost you maybe $30, maybe 40. Valkyrie Profile Series, also really good. PlayStation, PSP on that. Like, you can find these, no problem. All of them are available. Also, what's that? Anatomia is like a prequel to the entire series, mobile game. Final game, completely unrelated. Bloody Roar, please play this. It's like my favorite fight game ever. I just want to talk about it, please. But yes, that's the panel. I have a business card you can take a picture of. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, you can send me an email. Thank you for showing my Sunday panel. I know it's tired, you want to be home, but thanks for being here. You've been a great audience. Have a great rest of the con. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great life. Awesome. Stay safe, get tested, all that jazz. Yes, I'm wrapping up.